Setting up a TFSA and using it to build wealth was much easier than I thought, and by not starting earlier, I was losing out on thousands of dollars. To give you a sneak peek, I've grown my TFSA by 34% since I've started it about 3 years ago. So today, I'll walk you through everything you need to know about setting up your own TFSA so you can start immediately. First things first, why open a TFSA? TFSA stands for Tax-Free Savings Account. The TFSA's main benefit is that it shelters your investments from taxes. Besides the TFSA, there are also other accounts that give you tax breaks, including the RSP and the FHSA, and there are important differences which I'll get to later in this video. To explain the TFSA, I'll use a number example. Say you have $10,000 and you decide to invest it in a GIC and stocks. You put $2,500 in a GIC that earns you 4%. That's $100 in interest. So after a year, your money grows to $2,600 in theory. But you owe taxes on that interest in the amount of your marginal tax rate. Let's say that's 30%. In reality, that will depend on your income and the province you live in. $30 chopped off your earnings. Then you invest the remaining $7,500 in stocks that happen to grow by 20%. By $1,500 after a year to $9,000. Sweet. If you sell your shares, you'll have what's called a realized capital gain of $1,500. And according to capital gain tax rules, you'll have to pay taxes on 50% of your capital gains up to $250,000. So here you pay taxes on $750 of the $1,500 you made. Multiply that by your marginal tax rate of 30%, which equals $225 in taxes. So that's a total of $250 in taxes. And if your shares also paid dividends, you would pay even more in taxes. Instead of your assets growing to $11,600, they only reach $11,345. Now imagine if you invested larger sums over a longer period. The taxes could add up to thousands of dollars, limiting the growth of your investments. But with the TFSA, you don't need to pay any of those taxes. No taxes on interest, capital gain, or dividends. Imagine the TFSA like a greenhouse. The money you put into it had already been taxed, so it's after-tax money. But once it's in that TFSA, it's sheltered from further taxation. And inside that greenhouse, your money can grow protected, shielded from any hands that want to take a cut. Now let's go through how you can set up and use a TFSA step by step. First, open a TFSA account, and you can do this either with traditional banks or online investment platforms. The reason I didn't open a TFSA with my bank was that I didn't find it user-friendly enough. I wanted to be able to quickly and easily buy and sell investments in a few clicks, so I opened my investment accounts with Wealthsimple and Questrade. No need to meet anyone or fill out paperwork. Here's what it looks like with Wealthsimple. You simply click on Add an Account, open a new account, and select TFSA. Very important, there are managed accounts for which there's a fee and self-directed accounts. There are no fees for this because you do the investing yourself. If you want to have complete flexibility over your investments and are okay with choosing your own investments and not pay a fee for managing your TFSA, choose a self-directed and not a managed account. And it works very similar with Questrade. Both referral links for Wealthsimple and Questrade are in the descriptions below, and if you open and fund an account with either of them, both you and I will get a small bonus. Second, after your TFSA is set up, start transferring money into it. Usually you can use either Interact, debit, or connect your bank account to your TFSA, and this is what I find easiest. To deposit money into your TFSA, you simply tap Add Money, enter the amount. Note there's a maximum though, and your bank will instantly deposit it into your account. It's best to make it a habit or build it into your routine to transfer money into your TFSA on a regular basis. But very important, pay attention to this so you don't pay any penalty fees. Make sure you don't exceed your contribution room, which is the maximum amount that you can contribute to your TFSA. So how much is this? Every year, your TFSA contribution room grows, starting from the year you turn 18 or from the year 2009 when the TFSA was launched, whichever is later. And this table shows how much money you can contribute to your TFSA each year, and it increases over time. Quick example, let's say you just turned 18 before the year 2009 and you've never had a TFSA until today. You would have accumulated all of these TFSA dollar limits on the right side, which amounts to $95,000. That's because unused contribution room from previous years accumulate. If you turned 18 in 2024, then you'd only have accumulated a contribution room of $7,000. You can also access the information on your contribution room in your CRA tax account. Simply log in using a sign-in partner, which is your financial institution. Click on Savings and Pension Plans and see your current TFSA contribution room. Note that this amount usually does not include contributions made in this year, so you'll have to keep note of how much you contributed in the running year. And you can also check the summary of your TFSA contributions with your financial institution, and it's usually parked under tax documents. Now, can you have more than one TFSA? The answer is yes. You can open multiple TFSAs with different financial institutions, but your overall contribution room will stay the same. It's just distributed in different accounts. So if you have multiple TFSAs, make sure that you keep tab of your running contributions so you don't over-contribute. If you over-contribute, there will be a penalty tax of 1% of the highest excess TFSA amount in the month for each month that the excess amount stays in your account. That's a mouthful. So now you've got money in your TFSA, but that's not it. Third, you need to invest the money you have in your TFSA. In previous videos, some have asked me, how much interest do you earn in a TFSA? The answer is that you don't earn anything if your money is just sitting in your TFSA. The word savings account in tax-free savings account is a bit of a mismatch because you don't get the benefit from just saving money there. For your money to grow, you need to buy investment products. The TFSA itself is just a wrapper that gives you tax advantages. That greenhouse I talked about that protects the growth of your budding investments. How much you earn, whether that's from interest, dividends, or capital appreciation, will depend on what you invest in and what your investment strategy is, or how good your wealth manager or robo-advisor is if that's what you're using. That's another huge topic, and if you're a complete beginner in investing, you can watch this video later to learn about the basic investment products. But in this video, let's keep it simple. Within your TFSA, you can invest in most investment products, including GICs, stocks, bonds, and ETFs. Not crypto though, too bad. If you go with a robo-advisor, it will make investment choices for you based on your goals and risk preferences. Do that if you prefer a more hands-off approach, because I prefer to have full control over what I want to do, even though that means learning from my mistakes. I prefer using self-directed investing. If this applies to you too, but you've never invested before, the number of investment products you'll find might be overwhelming, so try and stick to the basics in the beginning. This is not investment advice, by the way. I'm just telling you what I did, but when I started my TFSA, I invested the majority of my money into ETFs because in my opinion, it offers the highest average return over the long term for beginner investors. Watch this video if you want to learn more about ETFs. Now, you might have heard about both Wealthsimple and Questrade and wonder what the difference is. I've used Wealthsimple for the longest time, so I'm a bit more familiar with it, but I've recently opened Questrade as well. The gist is that Wealthsimple has no fees for both buying and selling stocks and ETFs. The interface is so intuitive and makes it super easy to use. But Questrade has strengths as well. It has more advanced products and it's better for those who want to trade in US dollars. So perhaps not now, but eventually you'll want to have both. Now let's say a few months or years have passed and your investments have grown. Fourth, let's talk about withdrawing your money from your TFSA. At some point, you might want to sell some investments and take money out of your TFSA to use. And the great thing is that you can do this anytime tax-free. It's very easy, but it will take some time, usually anywhere between 1 to 7 business days, depending on the financial institution. And what happens to the contribution room? Let's say you take out $5,000 from your TFSA this year. Your contribution room will be replenished the next year, which is awesome. Because the TFSA is so flexible, many people use it to keep money for short-term needs, like for an emergency fund or to save up for a short-term goal like a car, instead of leaving large sums sitting around in a practically 0% earning checking account. And I'm not saying that you should put everything you have into your TFSA. Moving money out of your TFSA takes longer than getting it from an ATM, so it's best to still keep some money outside of your TFSA. I keep a few thousands for reference, so you can use it instantly. But your next chunk of money, your $5,000 or $10,000 emergency fund, for example, you could keep in a high interest savings account or short-term GIC within a TFSA, depending on how liquid you need the funds to be. That's really all you need to know to get started, but here are a few more important points to safeguard your money and make the most of it. 1, your investments in your TFSA are protected by the CPIF and CDIC up to certain amounts if they are registered members. So make sure the financial institution you choose to park your money are legit, meaning they're registered with these institutions. So in case shit happens, they go bankrupt or whatever, you don't lose all of your money. 2, the TFSA is just one of several registered government savings plans. Some others are the RSP and the FHSA. For most people, the TFSA is a great choice, and many people will have all of these accounts. I, for example, have both TFSA and RSP. Which you put your money in first will depend on your goals. If you're planning to buy your first home in your time, definitely consider a first home savings account or even an RSP if you want to make use of the home buyer's plan. The main difference between a TFSA and RSP is this. Money you put into a TFSA is after-tax money. For example, you earn it from your job and pay taxes on it. With an RSP, any contributions you make into it are tax deductible, meaning they lower your taxable income and could result in a tax refund. The more you earn, the greater the immediate tax savings, since you'll benefit from a higher tax deduction. Unlike a TFSA, where withdrawals are tax-free, any money you withdraw from your RSP in the future will be taxed as income. This makes RSPs ideal for people who expect to be in the lower tax bracket when they retire, as they'll pay less tax on their withdrawals. On the other hand, if you expect your income to increase and land you in a higher tax bracket in the future, it might be smarter to delay RSP contributions. In the meantime, you can maximize your TFSA first and take advantage of tax-free growth. For more on when you should invest in a TFSA, RSP, or FHSA, where to put in money first, watch this video next.